So let's bring in Joseph McMonigle, the Secretary General of the International Energy Forum. The IEF is the largest international organization of energy ministers, and he joins us from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much for being here with us. So I just outlined some of the similarities with the 70s, high fuel prices, gas shortages, high inflation. Presumably, Joe Biden is hoping he won't be the new Jimmy Carter. So what makes this fuel crisis different from what we saw then, do you think?
Well, thanks, Kim. It's great to be with you. Well, first, I think we have to recognize that energy markets were already tight and in a supply deficit before the war in Ukraine. Certainly, the war has made the situation worse, but if it ended tomorrow, we would still be in an environment of elevated prices and volatility. Also, I think the scale of the disruptions compared to the 1970s is much larger because it involves oil, natural gas, and coal. And because of COVID, of course, there have been back-to-back unprecedented shocks in supply and demand. And it takes time for supply and demand to respond to prices. And on the supply side, that's because new projects are capital intensive and require a lead time for planning and permitting and drilling. And demand is slow to respond to high prices because there's a lack of alternatives. And of course, it's an integral part of everyday life.
Yeah. Okay. So those are the differences. But then, even so, do you think there are any lessons then to be learned from that crisis that could be applied to this one?
Well, look, I think one of the things we learned from COVID, we had the biggest drop in demand in history in oil demand when 10 million barrels a day came off the market. But another way to look at that is the world in a complete lockdown was still using about 90 million barrels a day. And that just goes to show you that how integral, oil is to everyday demand, even if the world is shut down. I have to say, I think the second half of the year looks to be much worse, and we're kind of in a fragile situation. We've got oil inventories reduced and spare capacity is low. Markets are already tight, and we're likely to see COVID restrictions in China and other parts of Asia come back that'll just add to the demand pressure on markets. And of course, in the U.S., as I'm sure your viewers are aware of, if there's a hurricane in the Gulf of Mexico, you could temporarily see production facilities or refineries come offline. And Europe, I think, is where the situation is much dire because of power and gas prices already at record levels, even worse than last winter. And when seasonal demand picks up, countries may be forced to ration energy. And of course, energy sanctions by the West and whatever Russia's reaction to them could further exacerbate the problem. So I'm particularly concerned about the second half of this year. And I think overall, I'm worried that we're in store for even higher prices or volatility for the foreseeable future until one of two things happens. And that's if the Russia situation normalizes. And by that, I mean the energy supplies become normal or available, or we have a global recession and demand gets reduced that way.
But then on the first of those scenarios, some people have posited that the fuel scenario will have changed sort of permanently, that Russia will be sort of taken offline from the European energy sector for the foreseeable future. Do you not agree?
Well, energy is a global market, I think, as we're learning. So, look, I don't envy the world leaders and President Biden who have to make these tough decisions. But by sanctioning oil in Russia, you're affecting the amount of supply available on a global scale. And that means prices are going to be impacted. So, I think the president has talked about this many times about, we understand there are consequences to these decisions, but so I don't think you can't really isolate Russia on oil and gas and not expect to have some, negative consequences to consumers and countries around the world.
So in this country, people have sort of said, well, this could either push us one of two ways. It'll push us back to more fossil fuels, or it'll push us towards using more renewables and so on. So do you think there is a long-term upside for the environmental movement? We see more people, for example, turning to electric vehicles because of the high price of gas and so on. So do you think it'll convince us to switch to green energy?
Well, look, I think the answer is we have to do both, at least in the short term. I think the 2050 net zero goals are really not diminished. But I think there's more attention now, even before the war, this is with the backdrop of higher prices last winter, that we need to manage the transition. And so there's a focus now on energy security and on the transition. And what we're seeing is that real demand is more resilient than I think some of the net zero models have forecasted. And that's because until there are alternatives to hydrocarbons, we need to make the investments in it. And it may be odd for the head of an international organization to talk about investment in hydrocarbons, but I think it's important for the energy transition, because I'm concerned that if the public starts to connect high prices and volatility with the transition, it can undermine public support and be a big setback for climate policy. So I think we have to be very careful here. We need to make sure that we have the hydrocarbons and the energy we need to power the world economy today. And also we need to aggressively pursue the energy transition and develop these new technologies we need to address climate concerns.
Yeah. Well, certainly a lot of our viewers won't be happy to hear your grim prediction that things will get a lot worse before they get better, but hopefully that will happen sooner than later. Joseph McMonigle, thank you so much. Really appreciate all of your insights on this.
Great to be with you.